one day of the week be just as, gung-ho about the work, and the next day I'd rather go riding or something. So there's a part of me that will let other people do things for me, but ultimately not be happy that I did, because I'm a complete know-it-all. It doesn't really go hand in hand. I should be a perfectionist. I mean, I'm a perfectionist. I'm a lazy perfectionist. That's my problem. I know what I want, and I know what to do a lot of the time, but I'll be lazy and let other people do it half the time. And now I can't do that anymore, and I actually am enjoying that. As I keep saying, I stole this saying from a dear friend of mine who passed away not long ago, Carl Anderson, about driving your own bus. And I feel very much like I'm driving my bus again. And I am ultimately that kind of person, so that feels good.
So why the name By Myself then for the album?
Because it really is me picking what I want to do and being ultimately responsible for what I do. Even though the album idea was not mine initially. It was brought to me by Ian Ralphini and Ettore Estrada, who produced it. Ian Ralphini from Angel, my label. They came with this idea, and I just, the minute I heard it, I thought it was a great idea. I'd been very much on the fence.
Garland songs.
Yes, I'd been very much on the fence as far as what kind of record to make next. It was my 8th solo album. I always like to try a little bit different for each record, although I ultimately know what I do the best, so I didn't know what to do. And when I heard it, I thought I was the right person. It was the right time in my life to do a tribute album, and she was the perfect person to do a tribute to.
Yeah. Are there certain things that you look back on your career, and those are the certain moments? Those are the things, and what comes to mind for me that I wonder how you react to, the Olympics, and hearing your song while the Olympics are on TV. Is that a moment that was big for you or no?
Well, that moment was colored by the fact that we were disappointed that they didn't announce what it was. Every other song on that program got announced, whether it was incidental music or whatnot. All the 3 announced. They were constantly saying, "Oh, this is from so-and-so, this is from so-and-so." And here comes our big song,
Gold.
which we had just put out the album Gold, and that song was on it, and here we are, it's the Olympics, it's this great exposure, and they never said what it was. So we were all like, oh, oh my God, It was one of those moments that could have been so much better, and yet it was tainted by that.
Yeah. Do you know why?
I think they just got talking. They got into their, they gave commentary while the song was going on and Christy was skating, and it just, for some reason, they forgot.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask them personally why. I wasn't really happy that night. But.
Aw, so then that clouded what could have been, probably.
Yeah. But it's what's meant to be. I always feel very much like my life is what it's meant to be. I've always felt like fate had a big part of it. I always knew when the hand of fate was coming in, it was because it was so clear and definite when it was being pushed a certain way. And you're meant to do what you're meant to do. I'm meant to have whatever is coming to me. So, and I've been very lucky.
You did get to meet someone. I don't know if you knew her before, but you got to be on Martha Stewart's show, and I hear that you're a big fan of hers, and that you painted a picture for her.
Actually, I drew a pen and ink of a Frisian horse because she's got Frisians, and I also have a Frisian, and I wanted to give her something.
Yeah.
And what do you give Martha Stewart? So I thought that would I thought that would be one thing I could do. So I did and I didn't want it to be big because the woman's got everything, and I'm sure she does not have a lot of wall space. So I made a very little, head and shoulder of a Frisian, which is a beautiful black horse with long flowing mane. They all look the same. And then I spent more time picking the frame because, again, it's Martha Stewart, so it has, And I did. I think she was very pleased with it, and I felt good about that.
Had you known her before?
No. Mm-mm.
So
my mother had introduced me to her, and there's a part of me that wants to be Martha Stewart, and since wants that house to be perfect and things decorated the right way and food cooked the right way, and I don't come anywhere near that. But
so do you still get that thrill meeting people that are in the public eye?
Oh yeah.
Really? Mm-hmm. It's not like I know how this works. I've been there.
Jim Courier was on the plane with me flying here.
Really?
There's just something about meeting people that have been on TV, and I sat there thinking about it too. This is just a very nice man. He's a wonderful athlete, and why do we look at celebrity in a certain way? But we do.
Why do we? Do you think?
I have no idea. I guess because celebrities are maybe doing something that we secretly would like to do, or we associate them with having something more, but it's not really accurate. Every other person on the planet could be a celebrity if the right set of circumstances happened, and nowadays anybody can be with reality TV. So, but it's fun. I guess celebrity is fun.
Does it get tired being a celebrity?
Well, I consider myself a a minor celebrity. And I actually like that. I'm known as being the reluctant diva. That's a term that was coined for me, and it's really kind of true, because I have had enough of a taste of fame, real fame, to know that it's not necessarily, there's a level of it that is not necessarily something that I could handle, because I'm very much independent and a little bit private in certain ways, and I like the fact that I do have a certain level of celebrity, and yet I can go out looking like a slob, you know, and not worry about it, and walk around and not be bothered. People will ultimately come up to me at the worst possible time. In fact, there was an incident that happened here in Houston, which I tell people about. It was during Jekyll. I looked horrible. I was so exhausted, and I went out to a record store wearing a rag of a dress or something. I mean, I looked bad. There's no other way around it. And I was walking around the aisles, and a little guy was, every time I looked up, there was the same little man standing there. And I thought, oh my God, he recognizes me, and I just look terrible. And nowadays I wouldn't care, I'd say. But back then I was mortified, and so I kept trying to hide, and every time I thought I'd lost him, and all of a sudden I turned around, and he's right there. And he said, "Are you Linda Eder?" And I said, "No." I just lied. I didn't even know that was going to come out of my mouth, but I was so mortified at the thought of somebody recognizing me looking like that. You know.
Does it stand in your way then about, if you're looking at something to do something else in your career, do you ever think to yourself, what this will bring me as far as attention, what this will bring as far as, and you say, and there's the balance there? I don't know if you can find the question in what I'm asking, but does it ever stand in your way of doing something else? Do you ever say, I don't want that, I want what I have here?
Well, my career, I love to travel, but there are times when I don't want to go anywhere. I mean, I'm also a homebody, and I have a child, so I have to always compromise and sacrifice and try to do both, and you always have a working mother's guilt.
Right.
But ultimately, it's given me such an amazing life, so it's a trade-off. You know, the problem with it is and like I'm sure every celebrity would probably say the same thing, but you can't have what you really want is the ability to turn it on and off.
Right. Well, we're happy you haven't turned it off. We're out of time. Linda Eder, thank you so much
You're
for sitting
welcome.
down
Great
with
to
us.
see you again.
Linda Eder.
To order a transcript, call 866-652-3378 or send $6.95 to the address on your screen. Please include the name of the guest.